Welcome everybody. This is our third episode of what we call I'll Just Talk. My name is Aja Atwood. I am the CEO and one of two co-founders of Trella Technologies. And what I've got right here is our automated plant training device. It's designed to automatically train plants to grow sideways, horizontal, so you can keep the height under control, increase your yield, and use your time doing things that you enjoy doing. I wanted to just give everybody, a quick introduction to who I am, a little bit about the company. So I'm one of two co-founders. I also have another co-founder. His name is Andre Chamorro. The both of us are engineers, met at Northeastern University. We're in the New England, Massachusetts area, and we got together and came up with this device. And we're really excited to share it with you and to answer your questions. If you're new to what we've been doing, this is our third episode. We did episode 1 and episode 2. Episode 1 was about 4 weeks ago. Episode 2 was 2 weeks after that. So if you're interested to know what this plant looked like before, 4 weeks ago, definitely after we're done, don't go away right now, but after we're done, definitely make sure that you take a look at our YouTube channel. Go to YouTube, Trella Technologies, and you'll be able to watch the previous 2 episodes to check out how this plant looked about 4 weeks ago. But it's not just me, it's Dre, and we also were joined by a team of individuals that work remotely. We're a bootstrap style company, so not a very large brick and mortar location. We're in a grow lab that we built in the basement of my residence, and we've been rocking and rolling for about 2 years now working on this device. This is the 5th version, the 5th design that we've created, and right now we're working on design number 6. Design number 6 will be the design. Design number 6 will be the design that goes to market. So what we're going to do is I'm going to introduce one of our team members, Ash from Complemention, and he's going to kind of help me go through the process for today, introduce himself, and tell you guys what we're going to be doing today.
Hey guys, it's Ash from Complemention. Glad to have you guys back on another live right here with Trella Technologies and Aja Atwood. Today we're going to discuss a couple topics. We're going to talk about crowdfunding for cannabis. We're also going to do an update on the plant's progress from the live, which will cover the yield and the bench time, and we'll open up for Q&A. So hop in, ask your questions throughout the podcast or throughout our episode of I'll Just Talk, and I'll give it back to Aja right here with a question. What is crowdfunding and how does that work in cannabis?
Sure. So crowdfunding, if you're not looking to try to raise money from investors, crowdfunding is a really, really great option. So you can do crowdfunding in 1 of 3 ways. And one of the reasons why we wanted to really make sure that we talked about this particular topic today, crowdfunding, was that we understand that a lot of our clients, our potential customers, they're in the cannabis industry, they're in the hemp industry. And there are a lot of people that are in the startup mode, just like we are, looking for ways to raise capital, looking for ways to get their ideas off the ground. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to kind of share with you our process of how we grow. So hopefully that you'll be able to learn from what our successes, learn from our failures, and help to make sure that your business takes off appropriately. But one of the things that you can do, it hasn't been done in the past, 10, 15, 20 years ago, we didn't have the option to crowdfund. So what is crowdfunding? You can categorize crowdfunding in about 3 different categories for crowdfunding. The most popular one that people know about is called product or service crowdfunding. So product crowdfunding is like Kickstarter, Indiegogo. People have bought products off of those. In exchange for buying the product, you pay a little bit of cash. You might even get a t-shirt or some sort of a bonus, and that cash is used to help that company take off. Another type of crowdfunding is called donation or nonprofit or service-oriented crowdfunding. And that's things like GoFundMe, where perhaps you're trying to donate money or to help a cause. It could be, a new school, something that's typically nonprofit, and you can do crowdfunding for that as well. That's another great way that a lot of our, I would say, cannabis community organizations get their ideas off the ground. Is from crowdfunding. And then the third way is regulation crowdfunding. Regulation crowdfunding is also known as equity crowdfunding or investment crowdfunding, and that's one of the processes that we use. So this allows companies like Trella Technologies to actually raise money from the public, and in exchange for you giving us your money, you also get to participate in the financial success of the company. So when we're acquired, or if the company, expands and goes on into the stock market, you're able to actually participate in that success with gaining some money yourself. So there's 3 different ways you could do it: product, service, and regulation crowdfunding. And we've done both product and regulation crowdfunding, and it's really helped us to maintain our growth. Sure, it's different from raising $1 million, but always remember especially if you're in the industry trying to raise capital, always remember that whatever you raise, you're now, in a good relationship with that investor. You and that investor are in it to win it for life. So you really want to make sure that you're very cautious about the way that you raise capital. So if you're, interested, put some questions in the comments. We can answer some questions and maybe get some ideas out there for people who are looking to bootstrap like we are.
Sweet. So for businesses that actually deal with cannabis physically, so like the Trella could actually grow tomatoes and grow different tall plants. But for companies that deal directly with cannabis products like the flowers and the oils and edibles, are they able to crowdfund?
Yeah, so it depends on the platform that you use. We use a platform called StartEngine, StartEngine.com. But there's also another platform that's called Fundana, Fundunna. I'm hoping that maybe Ash or Chris can drop those comments or drop those links in the comments so people can check that out. But yeah, there are regulation crowdfunding platforms like Fundana that actually will allow CBD or cannabis companies to raise money. I know on Fundana, I know of one example where there's an actual cannabis cultivation business model. Like they're actually growing the plants, and that's how they're going to be bringing in their revenue. They're on Fundana. Another example is a real estate investment trust for cannabis. So people that are looking to develop some sort of real estate investment for people who are trying to buy property so that they can use it for cannabis. So there are a variety of different companies out there. On StartEngine, we're one, but we're kind of ancillary. We don't really touch the plant. But there's also a CBD company out there that's raising money as well. So don't let the word regulation scare you away, especially if you're in the cannabis or hemp industry looking for ways to raise money. Do some research. There definitely are things out there that can help you take it to the next level.
Awesome. So speaking of StartEngine, everyone, it's safe to say that we have raised over $40,000 using StartEngine.
Thank you.
Do you want to say anything about that?
I want to say thank you to each and every one of our investors. Every time money comes in, it's like, bet, now we can do X, Y, and Z. It really helps us. So please, even if you feel like you might not have the money to invest, go check out the page, because there's a lot of information about the product, a lot of information about what we've done in the past, because this is version 5. So there's been a lot of history to this company. So if you're interested in the history, how we got to where we are right now, check out the page. And it also talks about our patents. We are patent pending both in the US and internationally. This is the first device that can automatically train a plant to grow sideways. We put a lot of effort and a lot of time into protecting our intellectual property. So if you're interested to know information about that, that's also on our StartEngine page.
Great, awesome. So speaking of version 5, can we give you an update on the plant? How much yield can we expect from this plant also?
Yeah. So let's talk yield. Let's talk veg time. I know that's what everybody wants to talk about, is how much can I get out of this? So we're going to cover that today for sure. So just to be clear, we have different sizes. So depending on the size of the model, you're going to get a different amount. One thing I also want to stress is each model is designed for one plant, just one plant. This is our 6-foot model. It's 6 feet long. We call it the Model 6. We also have a shorter model, the Model 4. The Model 4 is only 4 feet long. Stops at right about here. The Model 4 stops right about here. So if you had the Model 4, you'd be close to done by now. This is the Model 6, so we've got about 2 feet more to travel. Based on our average grow trials, because again, this is our 5th grow, so we've done this 4 times. Based on our average grow trials, we expect to get about 1.7 pounds out of this 6-foot model. If you're working with just the 4-foot model, it's a smaller canopy, so you're going to get a little bit of a smaller yield. You're going to get 1 pound out of that 4-foot model. So just to be clear, we're talking about for Model 4, that's a 2-foot by 4-foot model, that's 8 square feet. You're going to get, on average, 1 pound. For the Model 6, that's this model here, the longer model, the big one, that's a 2-foot by 6-foot canopy. You're going to get about 1.7 pounds. Now, that varies. It's an average. That's going to vary on, the question is, it's not just yield, it's also time, but the yield is definitely going to vary depending on the strain that you're growing, your environmental conditions, whether you're using, what type of nutrients you're using, etc. So what I always say to people when they want to figure out how much yield will it create for you at home, the grower, or in your cultivation center, check out what you're doing right now and figure out how many branches and how many colas are you cutting right now off your plant. The majority of people right now, when they grow indoors, when they grow cannabis indoors, they're cutting the bottom branches off of their plant because the lights will never get down low enough to get to those lower branches. So you don't want to waste water, you don't want to waste nutrients, so you cut all those branches off. With our device, because we're training one plant to grow sideways, every branch on this plant is still intact. We haven't cut, we haven't trimmed, we haven't pruned. I've only been inside of this unit twice in 4 weeks. Today was one of those days. I went in and cleared out a little bit of debris, and this is about how much I removed today. And this is another leaf. So what I'm doing is I'm just going in and taking out leaves that are, naturally going through the process of yellowing and turning brown, but we don't get a lot of that in this setup. So I only have to go in every couple of weeks, so it's up to you. But what we're able to do is we're able to get an increasing yield. But it's not just yield, because like one of my friends said, one of my friends came over to the lab earlier this week, and she goes, there are people that it takes them 6 months with one plant to get 1 ounce. So if you get, 2 pounds a plant, but it's taking you 6 to 8 months to get it, what does it really matter? So you also have to consider how much time it takes to build this canopy. How much time does it take? So if you want, Ash, I don't know, any questions on bench time? Should I still keep going on that?
Yeah, absolutely. We get a lot of questions throughout the week on bench time and on yield, so it's very popular.
All right, great. So one of the things that we do is we try to compare what we're doing to a technique called SCROG. S-C-R-O-G. SCROG stands for screen of green. So basically what you're doing is you're growing your cannabis plant horizontally along a screen, similar to this. But when you're doing SCROG, you're doing it by hand, you're trimming and you're pruning. So we like to compare our process to that, because SCROG, when you're trimming and you're pruning, is considered a high-stress technique. If you're topping your plant, you're cutting your plant, it's a high-stress technique. And whenever you cut, trim, or prune your plant, you actually slow down the growth. You freak it out a little bit. You've changed its anatomy, and now it's going to take a couple of weeks, not a couple of weeks, but 2 to 3 days for the plant to actually figure out what it wants to do and to continue its growth again. So over a period of time, when you're doing SCROG, it's going to take you longer. And to give you an example of that, I know a medical grower in Maine, they use the SCROG process. In Maine, if you're a medical grower in Maine, you have plant count limitations. You can only grow but so many plants in order to provide medical cannabis to your customers. So it's really important that they make the most out of each plant. So they use a SCROG technique. And this individual told me that it takes 4 months for them to create a 4-foot by 4-foot canopy. So that's 4 months to create 16 square feet. So we're looking at individuals that are using a SCROG technique because it's a really great technique to use. It really helps to increase your yield, but the trimming, the pruning, and the constant topping takes a lot longer. So it takes people, a while to get one plant to really spread out that way. But what we're doing, if we talk about this plant, if you go back to episode 1, this green ring right here, which is the top of the plant, and this, what happens is it starts at that end, and then it slowly over time grows this way. This is just one plant. This one plant, about 4 weeks ago, this was way back here. 2 weeks ago, it was right about here. And now we're here. So we're almost at about 60% complete on this 2-foot by 6-foot canopy. So based on our estimate, we're looking at about 70 days, about a little bit over 2 months to get to the end. So we're thinking approximately 2 months in order to scrog out a 2 by 6 canopy. So that's about approximately 2 months for 12 square feet of canopy. So people that are interested to figure out how much time will it take, measure your canopy space. Figure out how long it takes for you to scrog and to train your plant. And then remember that this device, which is 2 foot by 6, is doing that in about 2 months. And that really saves people time.
Okay, great. Well, I know that we're probably going to have more questions about veg time and yield, and we'll definitely bring that up for all of our viewers and for the people watching the post-recording. We'll have, just go ahead and drop your questions into the comment, and we'll have those questions answered for you in future videos. But for Q&A today, Aja, we do have a couple questions, and one from one of our viewers right now, Alex, and he would like to know what's your current veg time right now.
So this is the current veg time because this is live. So right now we're at 48 days, and by 48 days I'm talking when this is a clone, ChemDog number 4 strain clone, and I'm starting from when we got roots, coming out of that clone till now. We're at 48 days. So by the time we get done, we'll be at about 70 days, and that's where I'm getting that approximately 2-month number from. I hope that answers your question, Alex. Let us know if it doesn't.
And then we're asking also, we have another question is, can you grow multiple strains and plant types in your unit?
Yes, good question. Good question. Thank you very much. So because this is an automated process, it only moves as fast as the plant grows. So if you're dealing with a strain that grows a little bit slower, just naturally, this will move a little bit slower. If you're dealing with a strain that's a very fast mover, it's going to move just as fast as the plant wants to go. So we've grown several different strains. We've done Sour Diesel, Master Kush, Nepalese Jamaican, and now this is ChemDog number 4. And we've done a couple of trials. Sour Diesel was kind of like our beginning cannabis strain that we used a lot for a lot of our grow trials. So we've done different strains with different kind of profiles, especially cannabinoid profiles, different structures. Some of them are a little bit taller, some of them are a little bit bushier. Master Kush is very bushy. So we tried a variety of strains. One of the things we also want to do, which is really where we're going with this, cannabis is the start for us, but this device can be used to grow any fruit-bearing plant. And what we also want to do is develop the design to the point where we're able to grow trees indoors as well. So this device is designed to grow those tall fruit-bearing plants, cannabis, hemp. Eventually we're going to get the trees. We're going to have to enhance the design a bit, but that's where we're going. That's why we designed this.
Awesome. An interesting question comes in. How many plants can you grow in the Trella at the same time?
So that's experimental. Honestly, it's designed to make the most out of one plant. Now, depending on the structure of your plant, if it's a bushy strain, I would suggest sticking to just one plant. If it's one of those strains that are a little bit more lanky, closer to the hemp family, or like the hemp family that's used for like building materials, stalks, seeds, things like that, then you'll be able to probably fit a couple more plants in there. But really, it's designed to make the most out of one plant for several reasons. For people that are dealing with plant count limitations, depending on the state that you live in, you're not allowed to grow more than maybe 3, 6, or 12 plants. And that's also for the medical cannabis growers as well. And the other thing is, we want to reduce plant waste. We want to make the most out of every individual plant. The more plants you grow, the more containers you need, the more nutrient delivery systems you need, and et cetera. So in order to try to reduce the waste that the cannabis industry is creating, we also thought it important to try to make the most out of one plant. The other thing that's beneficial in making the most out of one plant is that you need less mother plants to supply your process. Mother plants are the plants where people normally take cuttings from to grow additional plants. So if you're one of those growers that uses a sea of green process, sea of green means you're growing the plant really short and you're turning it into flower very quickly and you're harvesting very quickly. So you're growing them short, flipping them into flower, and harvesting them quick. But in order to make that, a very profitable business model, you need to grow a bunch of plants, like one every square foot. So if you're dealing with an issue where you have plant count limitations, that's not really going to work. But the other thing with sea of green is that method of growing plants very short does not work for all variety of strains. There's some strains that just can't take that short veg time. So we really wanted to make sure that we designed a system that was suited for all different types of strains and to make the most out of one plant so that we can reduce waste and make things more efficient.
Wow, great, awesome. We still have some more questions. Questions are actually rolling in right now, so thanks guys.
Thank you.
Keep asking. And thanks ladies. Please submit your questions.
Yep.
Do you trim at all? And if so, how?
No trimming. What we're doing in this process is we're doing low stress training. So if you go to our website, the name of the product is called TrellaGroLST. The LST stands for low stress training. And it's not just low stress because it's automated and you don't have to do anything. It's also low stress because of the method that it actually moves the plant. It's holding the plant at one end at the main stem and then just simply moving the top of the plant here. There's nothing inside of there that's cutting or manipulating the plant. It's hands off. We're touching it in 1, 2 locations. Just down at the end at the main stem, we're holding it there, and then again we're touching it here at the apex, what we call the top of the plant. So it's low stress. No trimming, no pruning. Now what I will do is every so often I will open her up and I'll go in and I'll take out what we call foliage that's kind of browning over the process. So I showed this a little bit earlier. This is what we take out. Leaves that kind of just brown over time, show a little bit of discoloration. So I pulled this out of there today. And I've only been inside of this twice in 4 weeks. So what we're really trying to do is we're trying to alleviate the need to have to go in there and to manipulate and interact with the plant. Several reasons. We don't want to stress the plant. We don't want to trim it. We don't want to prune it. We don't want to stress it. And we also want to alleviate the chance of contamination. Every time you go into the plant, you interact with your plant, you're also introducing maybe a pest or bacteria into the plant as well. So we're really trying to figure out a way that we can enable people to kind of be hands-off and let the plant do its thing naturally without stressing it.
Do you use any specific light or regular grow light?
So we use, in our grow lab, we use LED lights, but we've used all different varieties of LED lights. You can also use HPS, you can use CMH, etc. So you really just need to make sure that you've got a good light source, that you're happy with your light source, that it's got a good profile, that it's evenly distributed. We're using Pro GrowTech LED lights, but we've also used Viper Spectra from off of Amazon. We purchased some, when we first started out, we bought lights for like 99 bucks a pop and just lined those babies up, and that was kind of how we bootstrapped ourselves to this point where we've got, nicer upgraded lights. But we definitely wanted to make sure that this system could be used with all types of lights, typical grow lights that you would find in an indoor grow facility.
Sweet, great. I think we have here another question that just came in.
Awesome.
Can you get a tour of the Trella or perhaps a future YouTube video of that tour? I think someone's wondering, can they get an inside?
You want to get in? Yeah, so I can definitely do that. I'll try to figure out that gimbal. I finally bought a gimbal so that I could maneuver the phone in there and get it in there. So give me, a few to figure that out. And what we'll do is we'll definitely create a video so we can send it out to everybody so you can see what happens on the inside. Also, if you go back to episode 2, go to our YouTube channel, YouTube Trella Technologies. That's our YouTube channel. Episode 2, I actually opened this up and showed you the inside a little bit. So if you're looking to figure out what it's like inside of there, you can have a sneak peek. Additionally, I've done a couple of pseudo inside videos in our Growers Club. So the Growers Club is our Facebook community page. If you want to join it, just simply go to our Facebook page, go to groups, and join our Facebook community group. It's called the Growers Club. In there, from time to time, while I'm in the lab, I might shoot some pictures in there. And I do believe that we have a video from within looking up. So it's kind of like I put the camera right under the screen ring and showed you what it's like to look straight up. So check that out.
Great. Well, we do have one more question here, and it's a little bit, just let me know if this doesn't make sense to you, but
sure.
It says also wondering about the medium and nutrients, and is that part of the automated or just the straw?
Got you. So, this is another question that we love to answer. So we wanted to also make sure that the grower could use this for any type of grow media. So you can use it for soil. If you want to use a big soil mesh bag in there, you'll be able to fit that in there. If you want to use hydroponic or aeroponic, different size containers, you can do that as well. So we're not really dictating the type of grow media that you're using. We're also not automating the nutrient delivery system. We're not automating the temperature. We're not automating, the lights going on and off. But what we are doing is we're automating the scrogging process, the process of just training the plant to grow sideways. And we made that decision to start. We may eventually add those features in to, as we start to partner with other companies, and we definitely have some people that are knocking on our door for that. But as we start, we just want to focus on automating the plant direction and how fast it grows. But one thing I will say, just to clear it up, is that we also have an app. There's an app that's associated with this device. And we have sensors in this unit. We have sensors that track how fast it grows, so how fast it's growing along this distance, so we can track how fast it is. We also have temperature sensors, we have humidity sensors, and we have CO2 sensors down within this area. And for those of you that might be new, have never seen this before, you might be able to see that the leaves are moving a little bit. You can see them shaking just a little bit. That's because there are fans in there. We put fans inside. If we're going to encapsulate the plant like that, we want to make sure that we don't have any stagnant air, because stagnant air leads to moisture, moisture leads to bacteria, and also mold. We don't want any of that in our medicine. No, no, no. So we added a series of fans that blow air in there to make sure that we don't get stagnant air. And attached to those fans are the temperature, humidity, and CO2 sensors. So what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to go back after a grow and figure out what was the best temperature, what was the best humidity or CO2 setting that you used when you had the fastest growth. So you can optimize your grow and get faster on your harvest.
Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and shout out to Sam Bernardino for tuning in, and we have more questions that are coming in.
Nice.
Aja, what made you decide to do regulated crowdfunding?
Thank you. I appreciate that question. It was a decision that we did not take lightly. Dre and I both came together and decided that this is what we wanted to do. Regulation crowdfunding allows a lot more freedom if you're an entrepreneur starting something up. You're able to kind of go on a platform and set the terms. You can choose the terms that you want to use. Unfortunately, because it's regulated, the SEC will not allow me to talk about the terms of our specific raise, but I can talk about terms generally. So you're allowed to set the terms. You're allowed to decide if you want it to be a convertible note. You're allowed to decide if you want it to be equity, if you want it just to be a loan. So it gives you, the entrepreneur, the chance to kind of set the terms for everyone. It also allows for anybody to participate. Like, you don't have to be an accredited investor. Regulation crowdfunding just started in 2016. Prior to 2016, you needed to be what was called an accredited investor to invest your money in startups like this. An accredited investor means that you had to be worth over, like, you either had to make a salary of, I think, over $250,000 or have a net worth over about $1 million. So that knocks out about, 98% of the US population, 97% of the US population was not allowed to participate in investing in startups. It's crazy. The Jobs Act came along in 2012 under President Obama, and they signed the Jobs Act. Part of the Jobs Act was regulation crowdfunding. And they said they set the regulation crowdfunding, people that wanted to be in it, you had 4 years to figure out the rules, and then after the 4th year, you can start. So we weren't able to start until 2016. This is very new. A lot of people don't know about it, but we're trying to spread the word because it allows an entrepreneur or startups to set their own terms. It allows you to focus on your business. Focus on your business. Focus on understanding your market base. Focus on understanding your product, building your product, instead of trying to raise capital. I mean, I know so many of my fellow entrepreneurs that spend, 6 months out of the year just pitching, trying to bring an investor, an angel investor on, or a VC investor. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not trying to bash anyone's decision. I'm just saying it just wasn't a decision that was right for Trella Technologies, for myself, and for Dre. We wanted to focus on the product, and we wanted to wait until we really understood that we had a product that suited the market before we open it up to larger investors. And we also want, our friends and our families to be able to participate in our financial success. So we've been able to really, have, it's fun to have friends and family that are like, wow, we see what you're doing, and they can, put a little bit in there and follow us and support us and cheer us on. So it's great. It's great to have, I think, public support, and that's the reason why we did it. Long story short, I guess, right?
That's awesome. That's great. And so would you say that things are working out for you, like on the upside, or better than expected?
Yeah, so, it's regulation crowdfunding is not for the faint of heart. I'm not going to pretend and say like it's easy. It's not. It's not easy. You do have to make sure that you're spreading the word about your campaign. You have to make sure that people know about it, because if they don't know about it, you're not going to get any, investment capital. So you have to be you have to be good at marketing. You have to be good at social media, at doing ads. So those were all things that we had to learn and get better at. And we're getting better and better over time. So we're starting to see some growth. But the other thing is, it doesn't some people just want they just want that big win. They want that $500,000 big win and that for it to be over with. But with regulation crowdfunding, you have to be a little bit more patient. But with that patient, you get more freedom, more flexibility, and we're able to do what we need to do. We're frugal about what we do. We have to be, and what that's going to do is that's going to make us be a much stronger company once we get additional capital in.
Great. And we do have another question here, but before I jump into that, I want to remind everyone who's watching that Aja has raised over $40,000 in StartEngine. And again, please go check out our StartEngine page. It's startengine.com/Trella. And that's TRELLA, just to make sure you got it right, okay? And we're going to move on here.
Yep, and
so it says, yes.
I was just going to say, it wasn't I raised, the team, Trella, we raised. I mean, Ash, you're a part of that. Chrissy, you're a part of that. There's a lot of, I'm just one face, but trust, it's not all me. So I got help.
So kind.
I got help.
Guys, it would not be possible without this amazing innovation that Aja came up with and Dre came up with. So let's keep that in mind. This is something groundbreaking. It is transformative. It is game-changing. You need to check it out. If you haven't checked out the StartEngine, drive over there now. There's tons of information there. Matter of fact, to give you guys some insight, our Trella.io landing page, we had to remove some of the information off of it because there was just so much information about this device. And we want people to kind of learn about it and to kind of embrace a little at a time. So be sure to check out that StartEngine page and get down with the company. Join us. We would love to have you as a family member. Angela Vega would like to know, can we get this in another country? Where to go to see how to get this in another country? And can you get one to develop a project in Costa Rica?
Yes, hit us up. We can do projects in Costa Rica. So our goal, when we developed our patent application and we filed our patent application, it was for both the U.S. and international as well. We do plan to do this in other countries, but we're going to start in the U.S. and Canada right away. We could figure out something for Costa Rica. We've also got a cannabis grower activist that's down in Uruguay, and they're itching for it too. So yeah, we want to make sure that we can spread this as far as we possibly can. So if you're interested to kind of chat it up and figure out more, definitely go to the Growers Club. If you want to email us, you can email us at Trella.io, email us at Trella.io, and you can ask your questions there as well.
Great. Okay, and so we have a question here. Is the Trella maintainable? And it's a kind of a big question. I guess the concern is if anything breaks in the future, are there replacement parts that are readily available? Are there any weak points that we should keep an eye out for?
Yeah, great question. So while we're developing this device, the goal is to have this be usable for 3 years, and to do some low level maintenance once a year. The majority of the parts are the way that this will be assembled is really a kit. So you'll be able to get replacement parts. For those individuals that are looking to purchase more than one unit, especially if you're a commercial grower or if you're growing for revenue, we can also do service contracts as well, where we actually send out a Trella rep to do that annual service for you. So we really wanted to make sure that there's not a lot of possibilities for things to break, but as we refine the design, we're going to get better and better at that. But our goal is to make sure that this is good for 3 years without any major replacement parts required.
Great, awesome. And I think that brings us to the end of our Q&A.
Okay.
I would like to thank everyone for participating and sending your questions in.
Yep.
And Aja, I'll hand it over to you for the outro.
Yeah, thank you. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for sticking through and hanging out. One thing I want to make sure that people understand, this is one plant in here, creating a 2x6 canopy in about 2 months. And it's also automated, so it saves you the time of having to do that training yourself, reducing human error and lowering your operating costs. So we're going to be sharing a lot more about that type of stuff as we refine our brand and our marketing and get our word out there more. So please stay tuned. Go to the Growers Club. That's a great place to kind of chat it up with me, Aja, directly. I'm in there answering those questions. So just to cover today we talked about regulation crowdfunding, different ways you can do that, especially if you're a cannabis entrepreneur, either touching the plant or not. There are ways and solutions out there for you to figure out ways to raise capital, especially to kind of slowly get yourself to where you want to go. And once you get there, there's also ways to raise money, in the $1 million range when you do it with regulation crowdfunding. So that was one topic we talked about. And then we talked about the plant and how far it's from. So we had episode 1. At episode 1, go to YouTube and Trella Technologies. Episode 1, you'll see that we were way back here. Episode 2, we were right about here, and now we're at episode 3. So if you want to follow along our process and get a little bit more of the history, definitely check out and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you'll see what happens next. So yes, thank you very much, everybody, for your time, your patience, your interest. We love it. We love the comments. Mad love. Peace. Thank you.